Welcome to the Nerdist Podcast number 790. What's on the community corkboard?
We got all sorts of fun stuff. You want to go first?
Yeah, Jacqueline Novak, who is a hilarious comedian and all-around cool person, has a new book called How to Weep in Public, Feeble Offerings on Depression from One Who Knows. It's out now, and she's really funny. She's been on You Made It Weird talking about her depression, and she really does make it funny and interesting and informative. So definitely check it out.
Excellent. What else?
I am running a show on Nerd Melt on March 11th at 9 p.m. called Retro Rad, and it's me and Caitlin Durante, and we are going through it's basically obscure media on Reddit, but as a show where we're showing just crazy clips from old TV shows, and then we do a Win Ben Stein's Money contest where we have the audience and our guests and everybody else compete against me in a trivia contest.
And the trivia contest is actually just about jokes from
Win Ben Stein's Money. It's a lot of Jimmy Kimmel work. Stay away from
that. Is very niche, but I
it's
enjoy
almost
it.
like it's in the theater in the back of a comic book store.
Matt, do you have a community corkboard
I
item?
do indeed, Christopher.
What is it, Matthew?
On Saturday, March 12th, 2016, at South by Southwest.
In Austin, Texas?
Yes, at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., the Jonah Carey podcast.
Hey, that's on the Nerdist Sports.
Yes, that is absolutely right. We'll be there. I will be there with Jonah, co-hosting some sports garbage talk.
Phoebes Matt Myra
will be there. Come out. It's at...
I like James Bonding's Matt Myra.
I prefer the Frasier one.
It's
I
at
like
Drinks Lounge, everybody.
Tuck salad and scrambled
Drinks
eggs.
Lounge in Austin, Texas. That's 2001 East Cesar Chavez Street. Come see us. 7 p.m. March 12th, the Jonah Carey podcast. There's gonna be beer. There's gonna be me. There's gonna be Jonah Carey. There's gonna be
That's about
fun.
it.
Just fun.
You squeezed a lot of juice out of that.
And then you can also
There's gonna be-
listen to the podcast on the Nerdist Network
Yeah.
here
That's
every
right.
Friday.
I'm going to be
That's right.
doing beta. Is that everything? I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Good.
You have a good time. Check it out online.
Yeah, I'll see you down there because we're doing the live at midnight show the Friday, which is Friday the 11th at South
Friday.
by at 9 p.m. We seem to be doing. We're at Parish is the name of the
We
venue.
seem to be doing
I couldn't remember the name of the, and I looked it up real fast.
It appears we're doing an event.
If calendar is correct, now we're going to be doing a live at midnight just for Periscope.
Oh, nice.
So it's not going to air on Comedy Central. We're just going to do it on Periscope.
I'm sad that I can't be there to see that. That would be great.
I'm sad that you can't be there too, but you're moderating a really cool panel.
I am.
So that'll be fun.
Look, they sold out, so you can't come see my panels.
What's your panel that we can't go
It's
to?
Vice Principals, the new show from Danny McBride.
nice.
With the Goggins. It's supposed to be a hoot. I get to see it this week. They'll send me a link. They're still editing right now, but I'll be prepared to.
Yeah, so with the spillover of people who didn't get into that, come to see at midnight. I think there's going to be some fantastic comedians there that are relevant to your at midnight interests, and we're doing it all on Periscope. And then also March 15th, that's a Tuesday, different than we normally do, beta test at Meltdown, 9 p.m.
Tuesday beta test.
Go to nerdmeltla.com.
Why are we doing it Tuesday?
Because the Monday night show, I didn't want to boot. I think maybe Andy Kindler's doing a show on that Monday.
You wouldn't hear the end of it.
Didn't want to boot him off, even though I could have. I would never do that.
Hear me out.
So we're doing.
Line down, sitcom style, down the stage. You both do your shows
He
simultaneously.
was so funny at the Improv last week.
Oh
I
my
get to do a
God.
show at the Improv with Kindler
Oh
and
my
Dana
God.
Gould and Laura Keitlinger and Kindler, and they were all amazing. And Louis dropped in. Andy is so fucking funny. He kills me.
But putting a line down the middle for separate comedy shows, you just essentially described what happens at Just for Laughs in Toronto when Todd Glass and Andy Kindler do a show together at the comedy bar. It's the best.
Very, very excited about this podcast. This is Michael Showalter and Sally Field.
What?
Yes, I know. The movie is called Hello, My Name Is Doris, which is a movie that Showalter co-wrote and directed, and Sally Field is the star, and she plays Doris. The movie is delightful and heartbreaking and wonderful and funny, and there's a lot of great Kumails in it. There's a lot of great people in it that you recognize. That is in theaters March 11th in LA and New York. Wide release March 18th. Go support good film.
Do it.
My Name is Doris. Sally Field, amazing in the film, wonderful on this podcast. And so here we go, the Nerdist Podcast number 790 with Sally Field and Michael Showalter.
Wait, one more thing to add about that Jonah Carey podcast. I just read, no badge required. And it's free.
Or jacket.
And there's free beer.
So
just go to
so
that.
Phil Collins lovers will appreciate
We'll be
it.
like, I don't have a badge or a jacket. I'm having a great day.
All right, good. Just you
Studio.
just made it in.
Oh, thank God.
Throw me the whip, I throw you the idol. Katie. Katie, roll the thing.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
I was eating up. They're done. Are you hungry?
No, I'm fine.
Did we feed you pretzels?
We did.
Thank you, Kyle.
I'm not feeding
That is the kind of professional organization that I didn't realize we had capacity for.
We could have done
He
better
went.
than a paper
He went.
Dixie bowl.
He went over to At Midnight and stole them from Craft Services.
Did
That's
you
what.
steal them from my midnight?
I sure did.
Thank you.
And when I realized that he was going over there, I was like, "Well, then get me some fruit and some other stuff."
Oh, yeah.
But
Our
you,
Craft Services
But you
is
were
pretty
gone
substantial.
before. You were gone.
It's a shoot day, so it's
Do you want me to send Kyle on a fruit run? What do you want? A pear, an apple, an orange?
I'm a big fan of watermelon, cantaloupe,
Good God, people.
any sort of a citrus. I've been on kind of a
Let's just do our
grapefruit
thing and you
kick
can go to
lately.
lunch. My goodness, we're asking these
Well,
people
I'm
to
hoping they
feed
have a
you.
really good food spread at our
I've
next-
known
at
Showalter
our
for
next.
probably 20 years, so
Of course,
it
yeah.
doesn't mind. I don't mind.
Everybody does that. All these people, hordes of people coming up to him like, I've known him since I can't. It's like, okay.
Chris and I were at MTV when MTV was.
Yeah, there you
MTV.
go.
In the 1900s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Really? All
In
the way back
in
then?
the 1900s.
All the way back in the 1900s when kids had to watch TV when it aired. Now it doesn't matter.
And when Full House was just
When Full House was in its initial run,
First run, Full House.
we just met the Tanner family. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
here a few years ago at MTV. I would never expect you to remember this, but of course I remember it.
Oh, dear.
I was flying back from Memphis in 2013, and you were sitting across the aisle. You were coming back from Memphis.
I was in Memphis?
You were in Memphis, and this might trigger...
Was I drunk?
I don't know. You slapped the stewardess and said, where's my ham? I don't know what that meant.
Yeah, it was a secret code we had between each other.
Maybe you remember this. When we landed at LAX, the airport was shut down because someone had run a truck into one of the parking structures.
Oh, yes, I do. But what the hell was I doing in Memphis? It was. It might have been. I was promoting. I was in the midst of promoting. I think.
I think that's great. Not that many people go to Memphis to promote anything. So
I know. I think I must have been diverted from someplace else. I don't know.
that's the more likely.
I don't know what I was doing.
Could have been visiting Graceland.
Graceland or the Civil Rights Museum.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I was
there with you.
Yes, I was. That's exactly.
What
where
were
I
you
was.
doing?
I was. We were getting the promotion for Lincoln. I believe it was. Weren't we?
It was a speech somewhere.
Oh, yeah, we give a speech. I had to give a
speech in
speech
Memphis.
somewhere.
Well, I'm glad. I hope it went better than when we landed. When we landed, someone had.
I know you remember that.
You couldn't get out
It was
of the
crazy,
airport.
and you and I went some circuitous route, wasn't
Yes,
it? And we
yes.
said, "Let's take this route."
Oh, wait,
It was
you guys
you and
hung
I. We were
out?
going down the
Wait, you guys
tunnels.
actually
yes,
hung out?
we were.
We were going down the tunnels together, saying, "Don't you think we could get out this way?" It was
Yes,
it could have
that's
been-
amazing that
there's
you
a
remember
whole
that.
Movie we could
It
make
was
out
a
of that.
whole. Yeah, and it was.
We went down the
called
tunnels, and
Terminal.
everybody else was just huddled and taking the no for an answer. And I said, "Let's not take no for an answer."
I think we should actually see if we can get all the surveillance footage and just cut that together as a movie.
I think that was a movie.
Okay,
because
good.
it was called
Airport.
"Escaping the Airport."
Escaping Airport. Can I put that on my IMDb page? 'Cause that'd be
Absolutely,
really great.
because then I had to. Didn't you ultimately walk out of the airport? I had to walk out of the airport all together onto Sepulveda Boulevard.
Yes.
and get a cab.
Yeah,
and
and they
then
wouldn't
the
let
cab
everyone out
was
right
said he
away.
was going to charge me too much, and I demanded he let me out.
So you remember everything.
I had a
and you-
hissy fit. I demanded he let me out immediately.
He was giving you what's known now as surge pricing.
He was. He saw that there was a problem, and everybody was trying to get a cab, and I got it at the hotel there, and he was going to charge me like $150 to drive, into Brentwood. I mean, it was crazy. I wasn't even.
Do you think
Brentwood,
Do you think he identified you as Oscar
no,
when
he
saw it?
just
And he's
thought I was a hot one, like not hot like woohoo. I mean, like ready to shell out whatever needed
Yeah.
to be shelled out. And I said,
Maybe
"Let-"
both. Maybe he thought both. Yeah, we got
Like-
stuck in the airport for a while until they opened up and flooded, and
It's just-
we had no idea.
Airports are
walked out.
usually where I do take no for an answer.
I didn't
That's the
take
one
no for an
time.
answer.
That's the
I
one
did
time.
not do it.
So how did you guys come together? How did you get involved with this?
Well, we sent her the script, and begged her to do it, and not thinking that she would. And then she
I said
was
yes.
nice enough to meet me for a
So you guys didn't know each other before?
No.
You just cold
Message in a bottle. Message in a bottle. Like, what do I have to lose? What do I have to lose? Why not? Worst thing that can happen is she says no.
Yeah.
And we met for coffee out here, and we hit it off.
Yep, we did.
And then a couple days later, her agent and manager. I don't think you know this.
No, I don't
telling
think
you
I
little
do.
things you don't know.
I didn't know they did
and
that.
they called me, and I was like,
They said
"Hello?"
I was thinking about it?
No, they go, Sally Field's going to do your movie.
They did say that?
Yes.
Well, because I'd already told them.
Well, they waited a couple days to tell me that.
Well, I told them
And they were both.
immediately.
Anytime you get the agent and the manager together on the phone,
You know something's going
it's
down.
almost always good news. They never want to be together when it's bad news.
No one wants to deliver
No.
bad news.
So anytime you get like the whole group on a phone call, you know it's good news. And so it was like, I have these two people for you. I don't know why I'm saying I won't say their name, but I'm not going to say their name because who knows?
Who knows?
Anyway,
They may
I have
be
these two people for you, and I'm going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So let me tell you something. She's going to do your movie. But it was
They said
like
it like
kind of
that?
threatening.
But
like
we're
that.
dropping you.
No, it
We
was
just
threatening.
wanted-
Like it was
my
like, hey,
gosh.
Pipsqueak, hey,
Oh,
Pipsqueak.
no, they weren't disrespectful.
Not disrespectful, but it was like, hey, Pipsqueak, this iconic person is going to
Oh,
work with
poo.
you.
That's his reading of it. They're
Is we're gonna work
incredibly
with you.
generous and nice.
Don't F it
I
up.
said immediately, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. So that there wasn't any,
How do you pick things? Like, what kind of feeling? What are you looking for when you? Is it reading the script, or is it meeting with someone, or how do you? What is your gut? How do you find that?
Certainly, this is just so unique and such a wonderful character and such a unique story. Of course, I immediately said to Showalter, I said, "Can we pull this off? Is this doable?" Because the comedy is so high. It's such romp, screwball comedy, physical, real clown comedy, and then you haven't gotten that far, so I don't want to spoil it for you, but it gets Greek. I mean, it goes sad.
It gets very sad.
It has to be woven together really carefully because they're butting up against each other. And I constantly was saying to Michael, "Are we doing this? Is this happening? Is this a blending? Is this good?" And that was exactly there's this face. He would just do that slow kind of nod. Yeah, we're doing it. It's happening. You just keep going. After every take, I would go, that was it?
Yeah.
You'd go, yeah, that was it.
Because he sucks you in. You're like, we're being sucked in now. The audience is being sucked in. Oh, this is delightful and this is quirky and it seems like this guy. There's something. I don't know. Well, maybe. I mean, and then you start seeing in the background a little bit, and you're talking with the therapist, and there seems to be stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's coming out of her shell. The character is. I was reading something about it, and it's like, her smile. She can barely even smile in the beginning of the movie. It's like almost looks like it hurts her to like but this character that Sally plays had lived her whole life kind of like under the thumb of her mom, and is sort of like goes to work and punches in and punches out and goes home, and that's what she does every day, and she's really, really quiet and sort of not used to interacting with people when the movie starts, and then she meets this John guy, Max Greenfield, and she slowly comes out of her shell, and it's a very slow burn of watching that happen to see this person like kind of slowly like getting back and sort of rejoining the world a little bit.
How do you see her?
I think she's a borderline personality. I've sort of investigated that she's on the spectrum of will she be okay or will she not be okay, psychologically. She's a bit of a hoarder, but I always thought, and Michael and I talked about this a lot, that it was the mother that was was really an in-house hoarder, locked inside and kept Doris there with her. So I think that letting the hoarding part go, she might have been able to do perhaps more easily than her mother ever could have. Not that I'm letting you know that she really did let it go, but so she lives in her own fantasy world. She creates this world for herself, and her whole look are all these clothes that she finds in the Goodwill, or she finds on the street, or she finds in the thrift shops, and she just paints pictures with herself on herself every day, but she never sees herself. She isn't connected to the outside world enough to see herself from the outside in. And in her mind, she's what she always was. She's, 19, 20, something like that, maybe not even, because I see this story as a coming of age of a woman of age. And if she was ever out in the world before, open to possibilities and emotionally available, it wasn't really fully.
Sure.
I don't think even then, because her mother was alive, and probably she had one foot in the door of being out in the world and one foot still stuck in that childhood place that was calling her back. And then when she went back, she stayed in that shut-off environment until she's in her late 60s.
Yeah, she was developmentally stunted for a long time.
She's definitely, yeah.
But now she kind of gets to live out teenage fantasies.
She becomes 14.
Don't you feel like you always think of yourself in your head that way, though?
Yes, that's what, we talked about that a lot. I see myself still as that and go, wait a minute. I'm older than that. How old am I? And I'm kind of shocked sometimes going, oh, okay, that's what I am. But inside you're the same. You're still the same. You're the same person you always were. You might have more experience, or you might have more, wisdom of how you want to be or who you are, but you're still the same person.
And you started off in television very young.
Mm-hmm.
Was that what was being in TV like when you started? I mean, obviously, the media, everything was entertainment was so much different.
So much different.
And so, what did it? Because I know you grew up in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was it? Just I'm here, and there's a television industry here, so this seems like a thing I want to do. And what did it mean to be on TV at that time?
Well, I think it was huge, but I had a little Doris in me, and then I kept my perspective so tiny, probably to save myself. I had been acting in junior high and high school when they were drama departments. I went to Birmingham High School in the San Fernando Valley, and in junior high, in the 7th grade, it was called junior high, they had a theater arts department, and that's when I found the theater. But I grew up in a working class show business family. They were working class. My stepfather was a stuntman, and my mother was an actress, but it was working class, so it was really a tough life. She'd get a gig, she'd be on Bonanza one week, and then you wouldn't work for months and months at a time, and you didn't know where the next one was coming.
And that didn't scare you.
Oh, it scared everybody. It's a very fragile existence. We all know that here. It's a very difficult existence to have any sort of security. I didn't expect anything different, and I wasn't even looking for it. I hardly knew where I was going or what I was doing, but my stepfather found me a place. I didn't even know New York existed. I'd never been out of the state. I'd never been on an airplane. I was hugely unsophisticated. And my stepfather found me a workshop when I graduated from high school, because I thought, well, okay, I didn't take the SATs. Was I going to college? No one even asked me if I was going to college. No one at school said, hey, Miss Sally, what are you going to do with yourself? I was just sort of literally falling in the cracks, was one of those people. And the workshop was located at Old Columbia. I was just saying, this is like I was having deja vu. I was located at the Old Columbia Studios on Sunset and Gower. And the workshop was located on one of the sound stages. And when I did an audition to get into the workshop, I didn't know that the panel to get into the workshop were all casting people from television. And so the next day, I got into the workshop, but I also, there started to be some interest, like, do I have an agent? Was I, blah, blah, blah. And when I went to my first workshop, which was the following, week, a casting man came out. It was at night, and I was standing on the street corner waiting for my brother to pick me up because I wasn't allowed to drive at night. I was 17, and some man walked up and said, did I want to come on an interview the next day? He was Eddie Voy III, the casting director for Screen Gems, which was the television division of Columbia Pictures. And I went, sure. I didn't have an agent. I was just out of high school. I didn't know nothing. And my stepfather, my stuntman stepfather, took me to the meeting, And I spent that summer of 1964 testing, and just reading things and testing. It was just like, a whole new world, folks. And by the end of the summer, by like September, I think it was, I got the part. So
Of Gidget.
And that was like, welcome to showbiz field.
and also, what an interesting time for television and pop culture, because I think when I think about it, I didn't think of this at the time. I mean, I watched the reruns of the show, but I didn't think about it at the time. A show with kids running around in bikinis and bathing suits was probably kind of a culture shock to where America had come out of before.
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people were like, it's the downfall of society. These kids have no clothes on.
Well, they were incredibly strict with us. We weren't allowed to have our belly buttons show with these ridiculous two-piece bathing suits that had literally a fourth of an inch of skin showing on your midriff. It was ridiculous. Not that I, was looking to show more than that. We were right out of the 50s. We were.
Is that not what actual bathing suits looked like? I'm serious.
At the time.
I'm being serious.
They did, but not ones that I would be caught dead in. But
I'm saying like that. Like
they were.
If you went to the store and bought a bathing suit,
And then,
did it show
at that
did
time?
that show a belly button?
They were a little bit more revealing that, but not much.
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah.
So, but it was a very different time in television, in the entertainment industry altogether, in every way.
Did that show come back after the show got canceled, but then came back? Because of
No, they
syndication?
put me in another series after that, which was The
Flying Nun. Yeah,
Yeah.
which you didn't like.
No.
That was not fun.
No.
What? They were just dicks.
Yeah. No.
I mean, that's
there was a lot of reasons, and it's like, how much time do we have for me to go? We could spend days talking about the reasons why it was torture.
I would listen.
I was going to be in an angst situation no matter what, because I was 19, 20, 21 and heading into 20. I mean, those are the years when you're like going, who am I? Why am I? And I was dressed as a nun. And mind you, it's the 60s. Everybody is dropping acid and eating granola and running around naked.
Granola?
Well, it was like, hippies.
Did they ever explain why she could fly?
You know what?
Was it the hat?
I think it was
I thought
it was the habit.
It was the hat. They said it was the hat, but believe me, and then she was so little, and I am little, but she was so little and the hat was so big that when the winds came up, it just lifted her up. But I was so depressed that I weighed 800 pounds by day 4 of shooting. So the fact, how they could get this,
That was
woman
their
off the
explanation, the
ground.
wind.
Yeah, the wind. Yeah. It's
pretty windy up
there.
here.
There you have it. One of the reasons I was so depressed is written all over his face right there. Hysterical. Look at his face. It was hard to be that for 3 years and be forming who you are in your head. This is who I am, and also realizing what I really wanted to be was an actor, and this weren't it.
And it was, and also media was much more segmented at that time. If you were a TV person, you were a TV person,
Yes.
not a film
and there
person.
you will die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you started working with Strasberg.
Yes.
And that kind of helped break you out of the TV.
Well, no, I had to break out just by sheer, I'm going to do this or I'm going to die. And literally, I'm going to slice my wrists and rub it all over your doorway. I just, I had to want it more than I wanted.
The wind will carry you there.
Live. Yeah, really. It was just it's those moments. I really think that those moments, those times in your life when you feel you're in a deep ditch and you're never going to get out, and it's what you do during those really down times that really inform who you're going to be the rest of your life, and always do. They always are the times you get, creative. And so I just kept going, studying, and quit doing I stopped doing television. I tell them I'm not doing any more television, folks. And I think I had 2 little kids by then. I didn't work for like 3 years.
But were you completely freaked out?
Oh yeah, I was selling it. I mean, I was then reliving what my family had gone through all of their lives, where we were constantly repossessed. We were like, woohoo, we're movie stars, look at this. We've got 4 jobs in a row. Let's spend it all. And then they would come and get the house and the car, and we'd have to move. So you kind of went, oh, I was always afraid that that was going to happen to me. But
how did like Showalter? Because Showalter's background is, comedy, sketch comedy.
I know.
It was one of the smartest sketch groups ever, The State. How did you guys, at the time, did you ever feel like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work? Or
Oh, my God. I mean, yeah. The State?
Yeah. I mean, because that was an amazing time for comedy in '92 because the '80s comedy boom was over and this kind of alternative comedy movement happened, and the State was really surfing that. Mm-hmm. But there were not as many opportunities for traditional comedy on television at that point because it had been exhausted by the '80s.
Completely, yeah. No, I mean, there was also no internet to make videos for. It was old school, put on a show and hope to get discovered still. MTV was an interesting place to be, as you know. But we were like a band. I think that like our trajectory as a comedy group was much the way you see a band work, which was like constantly infighting, a lot of good ideas.
Well, there were like 11 of you.
There were 11 of us, all big personalities, all really ambitious. None of us ever set out to be in a sketch comedy troupe. It wasn't like, what I want to do in my career is go meet a bunch of people and like be in a sketch troupe and then get good at a TV show. It was like I want to go to college and I wanted to be like a cinema studies guy. Like I thought I wanted to be in academics because that's what my family background is. And then I fell in love with comedy as a kid, but then like we were like a fast burning candle is how I like to think of the State. We were really fast burning.
But everyone in the State went on to do amazing things.
Yes,
every single person from that.
And we pushed each other. I think a lot of us owe still having careers to just how much kind of like family brothers, a bunch of brothers competing, like pushing each other to stay in the game and to do good work and all that stuff. And so, we're still all in many different forms still working together. But I mean, I met Michael Black and Joe Truglio like the first week I was a freshman in college in 1988.
Wow. By the time this podcast is over, Tom Lennon will have written 3 more scripts. I gotta wait. I gotta get this done. Come on, man. I gotta pitch this shit.
And Ben will have checked no emails.
Your relationship to comedy it seemed like it was always important, but it also seemed like it was important for you to having to start branching off to not get typecast as just a comedy person.
I don't think I ever fought against typecasting. I just fought to be able to do projects that were worth being a part of. So the typecasting wasn't part of it. But certainly it went hand in hand because when I was trying to get away from projects that were rotten into projects that were good, it led me out of just being the cute little situation comedy girl. And as I was transitioning into an older person, older and older. But I love comedy, and comedies, I love comedy. I would, if I had a druther, it would be to do what Michael created, in that it's everything. It is both really comedic and clown-like, and then really dramatic.
I think Soap Dish is one of the best comedies in the history of comedy.
Oh God, thank you.
People must that movie? I saw it not that long ago, and it. Aside from like Robert Downey Jr.'s shoulder pads, the movie completely holds up. The comedy in the movie completely holds up.
Yeah, that was and great fun and just inspired lunacy, complete and an inspired lunacy.
I don't know if they are there just like weird ensemble madcap movies anymore? I feel like it's not. Everything's so kind of linear now and gritty, and but that where you just had an ensemble cast of all amazing performers and you throw them together with a good, with just like a good solid joke base.
Yeah, joke. It was just one joke after the other, and everybody is shot into space. We're all on some sort of weird drug because the energy level is way up from the get go. It was exhausting, actually.
I mean, when you're doing something like that, or you essentially just have to trust. you trust the director. Like, okay, I guess this is all gonna. I mean, do you ever act outside your comfort zone because you feel like, well, this is what they want, or is there a push and pull? Like, I think I should do it this way.
It's really hard for me to go and commit to something that in my core doesn't feel that I can't find the land that it lives in. I find that very difficult. I've really then become so difficult to work with.
Well, what about when you were doing Nun?
Well, yeah, that was.
What was that like?
It was hell, but it wasn't hell because they were asking me to do things that were, in a land that I couldn't arrive, like asking me to do emotional things. It was the nonsense. It was spouting utter and total nonsense all day long, every day, from before the sun went up till after the sun went down, in a nun's habit. So, there wasn't ever about anything human.
Yeah.
It was, some robbers had come to the island and, we're going to take the thing. And then Carlos was going to. So what?
Carlos?
Yeah, never mind. You had to have been there.
Because I definitely feel like whether in almost any kind of thing, to do something that's not, that I don't believe in on some level is painful. Mm-hmm. It's excruciatingly painful.
Yeah. But that's why.
Whether as a writer, in the limited experiences I've had as an actor, to try to do work that you don't believe in it, even it doesn't have to mean that it's shedding light on the human experience, but just that you believe in it.
Yeah,
and you don't do that. I'd rather do something else. For me, if it's going to be this, I would actually rather go do something else entirely,
or not do anything,
or not do. Yeah, well, no, I would go be a try to go be a cop or something.
Oh,
like
you mean a whole nother occupation?
A whole other occupation,
not another project.
It's not worth it.
So you're playing a cop? No, I'm a cop. Oh,
in my mind, I'm saying that pain of I have an idealistic thing of that I'm going to do something good, and if it's not that, then I'll go do something else that could be good.
You'll make a living some other way.
Yes,
and
you
just need to be happy. You just need to be happy. You need to be able to look yourself in the mirror every day and go, I'm okay with what I'm doing.
Well, and then on some level, what I'm doing has some value.
Sure.
Yeah.
But from what perspective? Like what value?
To some internal part of me that thinks it has value.
Can you see Showalter being a police officer?
I could be a detective. I could be.
You could just be a detective.
I could be a detective.
Can I be a detective? I was in this really great sketch group. Sure.
I want to wear a trench coat.
A lot of unsolved murders.
I want to wear a trench coat and the hat
I can
and the
see
notebook.
you being one of those police officers, those cops that direct the traffic. They kind of
Sally.
like this with their hands.
Sally.
No, she's saying you're a good director.
It would be great.
No.
Let's try to.
She's taking a pot shot at me.
No, I can't see you coming in with a gun and saying, everybody go to the...
I said I'm a detective.
Okay. Well,
I'm an investigator.
Even then, you have investigator.
I'm an investigator.
All right. At a desk and a thing.
No, I'm.
No, you're in the field.
I'm what's his face from Law and Order?
Lenny?
The tall. What's his name?
Chris Noth?
Jerry
Orbach.
Jerry Orbach.
All right.
Okay.
I want to be Jerry Orbach.
So you're the gumshoe
I'm
with
the
the
gumshoe.
loose tie and the snarky comments.
All right.
You're packing heat in
All
case
right,
you
you
need
can
it.
do that. You're packing heat, though, really, because
I
sometimes
am
it comes
packing
to that.
heat. I am packing heat.
It does come to that every now and then,
It
and you're
does.
ready for
Occasionally.
it.
I am packing
Someone's
heat.
gonna run.
And I will unpack my heat.
So you would be the guy that would come in with the loose tie. You'd find a dead body in the meat packing district.
No, he doesn't find it. He gets called in.
He gets called in. Yeah, exactly. He goes in
And you
and
kind
then
of mosey in, going,
Yes,
all right,
yes,
what's up
yes.
now?
Yeah,
What
get
do
out
we
of my
got?
way,
What do we
get out of
got?
my way.
you see all the meat hanging in the dead body. And you're like, who wants cheeseburgers? Like you do that kind of stuff.
Yes,
exactly.
yeah. Like I've seen it all.
Yeah.
You're saying like I make a joke because I've seen it all.
You don't blink
Nothing
ever.
phases me.
Nothing phases you. Yeah. But surely you must have. I mean. You
Yes, I have, but please don't call me Shirley.
Oh,
because
come on.
Then I would.
Why would you? That's an old.
I know.
Classic.
I know.
Showalter, you'll get back to your desk and start solving
sorry.
those murders. Huh? These murders aren't going to solve themselves. You're in
And
here
take that gun out
making
of your
airplane
pocket,
jokes.
big boy.
But you must have. I'm sure you must have been on stuff when everyone's intentions were good coming in. Everyone had the best intentions. The script was great. Halfway through, you realize, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be.
No.
That's never happened.
No, I've been on things that you knew going in you're going to hate yourself every inch of the way, but you need to make a living. So find a way to get through it, and it's just hell.
Did
I'd
anyone
rather starve
ever
to death.
surprise you when you went, that actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to
No.
be? Okay.
No.
Not a one person.
Not even one teeny? Okay. All right. Maybe just a sang. Well, what happened in between Nun and having kids and then Sybil? Like what broke that?
I worked my way into because I wasn't even. No one had let me on a list. I couldn't get on a list to get in the door, much less get to the reading or get through the first meeting with the casting person. I couldn't get on a list. They didn't want me in the door. But a casting woman who knew an actress that I had worked with, and also I was working at the actor studio all the time, and I was doing really kind of outrageous. I was doing the respectful prostitute at night, and I was doing the flying nun in the day. But, there were some years that went by here, but I was still working at the actor studio a lot. And I think at that time, the actor studio was really an interesting place here. There was so much, so many actors were coming out of it, and who were really good actors who were working in film at the time. And this was in the 70s. Now we're already into like 75 and 76 and those years. And what film was at that time was changing, and Easy Rider was coming in, and 5 Easy Pieces, and all of that sort of they were pushing the envelope of what American film was, taking it out of that real glossy look of the early 60s and the late 50s and into a grittier look of Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, and all of these things that were coming out. And Bob Rafelson had a movie, and the casting director knew an actress that I had worked with, and the actress had said to the casting director that they should let me in, that no one really knew what I was. But I went into the meeting and could hear Bob Rafelson yelling at the casting director from the other room that how dare she waste his time with me.
So how do you push through that?
You get really frigging angry, and by then I had learned how to what the art of an audition was. Even though I had never been on an audition, I'd never been allowed. Only audition I'd ever been on was Gidget. After that, I was never allowed, and but I had trained then. I'd been working, and I knew what the audition was, and I knew how to harness that. I knew how to use that. I knew what to do. I knew that they were never going to hire me. They had to think they were hiring the character, and they had to think that everything I had done before was just one heck of an acting job, because really I was this little, floozy girl that worked in a gym that, was really just a really a girl that just couldn't wait to do all the things that the Flying Nun never thought of,
Mm-hmm.
So I just had to be that character. I had to be that. So it wasn't the audition and you go into a reading and then you take your moment and you read the scene. I had to be that 24 hours a day. And they thought, whoa, wait, this is really? And that's who gets it? The Flying Nun was? That's surprising.
That is mentally exhausting.
And mentally exhausting and infuriating and exhausting. And so I had to do reading after reading, and then finally got to read with Jeff Bridges, who's in it, and of course adored him. And finally I knew how to do the work, and I just knew I had to be surprisingly better, but surprising in every way. So when I first came into the first meeting that I had, and I was being treated very much with disregard, and you're not cruel, but they just weren't interested, and they'd done a lot of readings that day with a lot of other actors. At the end of the day, like, when do we go? Okay, go ahead, you can do your reading now. I was reading with the writer, who was the most god awful reader. He either he didn't care or he just was really that bad. So I threw my pages on the floor, didn't throw, just let them drop. And I walked over to him that was sitting in the chair next to me, took his script out of his hand, and he was going, but, and proceeded to straddle him. I stood over him and sat down on him and straddled him and looked him darkly in the face, and he's like going, whoa, whoa. And he said, I don't know the pages. I said, well, then fake it.
Oh, man. You took over the room.
I took over the room. And, of course, I'm the shyest human being. I am.
So that's not how your meeting with Showalter went.
It kind of was the same thing.
Okay.
It was in reverse.
But anyway, I got the role slowly but surely.
Wow. And from that, I mean, did you guys expect Smokey and the Bandit to be the crazy hit that it was? Or did you think, like, oh, people might enjoy this?
No.
It was like the number 2 movie of 1977 or something like that.
Yeah. No one did. No one.
It's the same year Star Wars came out. It must have been Star Wars and then Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah.
Was it Star Wars that year?
77 was Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah. So what...
Yeah, no one knew that. It was just, it was a fluke, and you just kind of, it was a really quick shoot, and I guess in that way, it was surprising because who knew what it was? But I didn't go into it thinking, oh God, there was no script. I mean, literally, we improv'd our way through the whole thing.
Then Jackie Gleason would just come on and swear a bunch, and
yeah. I mean, it was kind of just. But what wasn't improv'd is Hal Needham's brilliant stunts. I mean, Hal Needham was a great stunt coordinator, and he had been. He was a great stunt man, and then he became the stunt coordinator, and he crafted all of these things, and then he knew where to put the camera and how to make it visible, and also how to protect his stunt people. He started Stunts Unlimited and all of that, and so you just you had these actors that just improv'd in a car. 3 sets of cars, and one guy's with a dog. The whole
Jerry Reed,
and these just funny stunts that are funny, and just caught a moment.
It was a weird moment in the 70s when like trucking and trucker shows and trucker movies and Convoy and all that, and like my grandfather had the CB radio, and everyone like Smokey and the Bandit kind of broke all that mainstream.
Yeah.
Was your family into that when you were growing up?
Yeah, I had a CB radio, Breaker 19.
Breaker 19.
I think that all came from Smokey.
I think it did.
For sure.
It did. There was a. I mean, being a kid and getting that CB radio was. You were just reminding me of that. Was like that was like, and oh God, yeah, totally.
And now we just have these communication devices in our pockets. In the old days, you needed a handle.
Remember this thing? You go by a truck and you go like that,
and you pull your arm down.
And then they would honk their horn for you.
Yep.
And and it's like, totally. That was totally a Smokey thing.
Will they still do that?
Yes, I think they must. They'll still do that.
That's still part of the trucker code.
I'll let you know today.
Still part of the trucker code.
For sure.
But what is it that motivates you? What is it that kind of what is it that you're trying to do with each part? Is it an exploration of yourself, or is it some external thing that you're looking for?
Oh, it's a conversation with myself. It's like Donald Trump, basically. It's a.
Will you please be president? Because I would love for you to be president right now.
It's a way to communicate with myself, with pieces of myself that I might not have, looking for them in a craft, and how I, talk to parts of myself that I don't communicate with normally, and it it really is a conversation with an audience, a faceless audience that, to sound really maudlin, but it is what keeps me from being isolated. When I'm doing that, I feel so connected to a conversation that it's hard to explain, but because I guess it's what I do. It's my communication with the planet, with everybody.
Does the entertainment industry get in the? It's such an interesting business because it attracts artistic types, but then there's this other kind of weird political structure of the entertainment business that gets in the way. And that's also appropriate just coming out of the Oscars. But it's just such a strange... It's two things that are layered on top of one another that seem very strange. So did the politics of the business and all that, any of that stuff and the awards stuff, I mean, is that just kind of like, ugh, I wish I could just scrape that out of the way and just do the work, or do you mind that part?
I try not to look at that part. I think what I do is I compartmentalize. And I think I got very good at doing that, being a little girl raised in the 50s when there were so many things you just weren't allowed to feel. But there are things that human beings feel. You feel rage, and you feel sexuality, and you feel all sorts of things that, oh, no, little girls don't do that. So I think you put them in boxes and hide them away in places all around your interior house.
Sure.
And I think I was good at that. So even from the beginning, I put it all in a box and put a bow on it and tucked it away. So I didn't look at, even that there was a finished product of things. It had come out. You were forced to like have to see and feel what the reaction to things were. But even as I got older and was deeper into the business, I was able to just keep that's that, and there it is. And when I have to deal with that, I'll step into that and deal with it. But mostly, I just wouldn't look at it, wouldn't respond to it, wouldn't feel it.
Does winning an Academy Award feel the way you think it's going to feel, or is it? Is there a depression afterwards? Because you're like, well, I don't know. What am I supposed to feel now? Like, or is it elating the whole time? How does it?
It's better than a sharp stick in the eye.
Sure.
It isn't that it's not anything. It's certainly something, and certainly, feels, a great deal of accomplishment, especially for me, because it took me so long to get out of feeling that I was just a joke. But honestly, it is all about that moment. You did a project that the work worked enough and caught enough of a wave in that moment in the industry that it was recognized. It doesn't mean that there weren't a whole lot of other films that could very well have been recognized, or other performances. But these were the 5, it used to be 5, and now it's 10, or whatever, that were recognized, and this is the one that won. So it, of course, felt incredibly rewarding at that moment. But it fades quickly because it's always about that moment. And life is about, and most especially this industry is about, now what? Mm-hmm. Then what? Now who are you? But life is about that. You can't hold on to what you were and what that was. That was. And that will inform who you will be. But that won't be anymore.
I'm curious for Showalter, from a guy who, I always thought of the state as like, this is sort of a punk comedy movement, like punk rock for comedy. And it's not mainstream. It's at the time we would say it was for the kids, and I was the kids. Really? I was. Okay. We're the same age, but I was in the MTV generation.
Okay.
That show was for me.
Yes.
It was not the traditional sketch comedy show. It was and it was different in that way, and it spoke to me
by the people for the
by
people.
the people for the people.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Exactly. So how do you handle kind of become like, if you become super mainstream, can you handle that, or do you feel like you always kind of have to be a little rebellious, a little punk, a little can you handle mainstream success?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
It's taken a long time, I've had a very circuitous route to having like a little more work than I'm used to having. And I wouldn't say I've paid my dues, but like, I've like thought about it a lot, and I've through trial and error really honed in on like the kind of career that I'm pretty sure I want to have. Mm-hmm. And there's a version of success in a mainstream world that I could participate in that could work for me.
Sure.
And I think I've figured out a lot for myself just on a personal level, just, dealing with personal life stuff to where maybe before I couldn't handle it, and now maybe I can, just in just the more of the way of, to a lesser degree of what Sally's talking about with winning an Oscar, which is like, if I won an Oscar, I'd like, I can't say on the air what I would want to do.
But you can say anything. It's a podcast. It's the
just
internet.
Use your imagination.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, wow.
It would be like
That's
just
really
what you would want to do with the Oscar?
No, well, sure. It would be like I'd want to like, I don't know, I'd want to like, it's something I wouldn't even do, but I'd want to like, Al Pacino and Scarface or something, like a giant mountain of cocaine and
right,
and like and like a big
kind of thing.
and like a like a machine gun and just like rah!
I hope someone.
Here you go with that gun thing in your pocket again. You know, it's
Yes,
like-
Jerry Orbach.
He just Showalter just wants to be famous enough so that it's not crazy for him to wave a gun around. That's Showalter. Yeah, I tell you what.
No, and for what it's worth, I couldn't hate guns more for what it's worth. But like you have a little bit of success, and it's like, you know, I think I'm at a place now where like I could take that in stride. I take that in stride. I know that it's not that in the grand scheme of things, it is like, okay, so you know, I still gotta drive home in traffic and deal with my family and my obligations and that. So I feel like I'm a little grounded to where like I'm ready to like not need to be that rebellious punky kid that I was for a really long time.
I mean, for Sally, to have the kind of career that you've had and continue to have and will continue to have, I mean, it really is just amazing thing after amazing thing that you've done. And I just, do you have a really strong sense of who you are and it's separate, kind of what you were saying, separate from all the film stuff, and you're comfortable with yourself? Do you feel comfortable with yourself?
No.
Really?
Not totally. I think I'm always working on feeling comfortable with myself. Some days, no, I'm always sort of like irritated. I don't know if I'm really comfortable with myself. I don't even like the thought of it, really, because that means you will like be, you know,
Are you saying that's what I said?
No, he asked
I
me.
asked.
But
I
are
was
you
just asking.
insinuating that that's what I said?
No. I don't
Okay.
think you ever were. I would
Okay,
never. You
good.
said you were.
I'm paranoid.
That you said
I take
was
back what I said. I take back what I said.
It's too late.
That-
I take
wait
it
a
back.
minute.
No, it's too late.
No, we'll erase
Words
it.
have power.
He can erase it.
You can't
She can
erase from
it.
Sally Field's
Wait a
brain.
minute. That I think that you said that you were
No,
comfortable
I'm
with
just.
yourself?
Well, do you think I'm comfortable with myself?
No. Not
Okay,
in the
good. Okay,
slightest.
Judging by the fact by how many times you asked that question, I would say the answer is no.
You're the most uncomfortable with yourself of any human being I've ever
I just
seen.
think, you know, it's so easy to spin off the rails, you know, particularly in the mercurial business, and you know, like you have ups and you have downs and you have things that you spend a lot of time throwing your emotions into, and sometimes they don't pay off. And so what pulls you back and keeps you grounded, I guess, is probably the better way to ask that question.
Probably if I don't know what really, I mean, we have to really figure out what the word grounded means. But I think because I'm so close to my children, they've always been my home.
Yeah.
That was my safe place. And that's that outside world, and that can just like go there. And here I have all of them, and then and grandchildren, and so that's where I live. But also, I'm really a hermit. I'm very much like Doris in that I'm really antisocial.
You know,
Sort of notoriously.
Oprah once said that. I think it was Oprah who said this.
You get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car.
She said that. She
Yeah,
did say
okay.
that too. That you know, like success and fame will make you more the person that you already were.
Right.
So if you're like a jerk and you get really famous and successful, you'll be an even bigger jerk.
Yeah.
And if you're a good person and you get really successful and famous, it forces you to be an even better person.
Maybe, yeah. I guess I can see why that. I think.
And I've found that to be true.
Really?
I think so. That yeah, you have to kind of step into the shoes that you believe are the shoes that you should be wearing.
I think there's a lot of like, why are you doing it questions to be asked. You know, it's like if you're doing it for a lot of external reasons, like, well, I want fame and I want success and I want money and I want all this stuff. I feel like that's a very disappointing path, even if you get it, because then it doesn't fix you.
But there's also people that are legitimately narcissistic, you know, people.
Are you talking about me? See, because that
That's what you did.
Well, there's
wait a minute.
there's
see, right?
narcissism. But there's so many. I'm talking about like narcissistic personality disorder to where like, you know, you give that person the opportunity to like be that person, and then you're confronting that.
I do. I think the business can be very difficult for that reason, because it doesn't, sort of like you were saying, at a certain point, boundaries become a little less clear, and it's interesting because I feel you had your kids fairly young, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so you had a support structure that you needed to pay attention to from a very early on.
Yeah, from early on.
And you and it's fortunate that you recognize that, because even just having kids doesn't always make people awesome people.
No, but it makes that you have to pay attention to these two little people saying, when do we eat?
Right.
I never really had I was always somehow alone in it, I was singly growing them all on my own. So, it certainly changes your focus. And that becomes really where you're home. But I agree with you, it really is about why are you doing this? Why have I been in this business why have I been doing what I do by hook or by crook for 52 years or going on 53 or something? And it has to be because of the being able to have the opportunity to act in films and anywhere in television or films or on stage, but certainly like Doris, gives me a place to do what I do. And if it's ever been about, I want to be famous or I want to be rich, forget it. Then you're going to get crushed because that ain't going to happen. And if it does happen momentarily, it's not going to be there for long.
Yeah. So it is basically just that's nice, but what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing?
Yeah. Or taking the downtime and using it in a creative way.
What do you do in your downtime that's not...
I suffer.
Are you a shark? Do you have to keep moving?
Well, I do. I keep moving, but it may not be in the kind of in the business sense. I don't keep moving because I'm hustling and looking for the next thing. I keep moving. My kids would always say, I never sit. I'm sweeping, and then I'm doing the windows, and then I'm saying what's to eat, and I'll do something.
Do you have, besides My Name Is Doris, and besides family and human things, what's your favorite thing that you've done where you look back and you go, I am so happy that worked out? Do you have a favorite project or a favorite thing, or is it just shades?
What would it be?
I don't know. There's a million.
Like I went out into the wilderness. And
No. I mean, movie.
One of your movies.
One of your movies.
Oh, I thought you meant what thing out
is
of show
it
business?
Forrest Gump or Steel Magnolias?
No, I thought
or is
you were
it
saying what.
Could be the blooper reel from Smoking the Bandit,
and not show business, and not your kids. What thing have you done that you're most proud of? I'm going, well, what would it be?
I was saying outside of My Name Is Doris, which I'm sure in front of Michael you would say is your favorite thing.
You know what? I don't know what I really don't know what my favorite thing is. I couldn't pick. I wouldn't pick. I can't. I couldn't say that. I wouldn't. I don't know. I absolutely don't know.
Well, we can eliminate the flying nun.
I think we can eliminate that. And probably beyond the Poseidon, we can eliminate that one.
So we've got 2 off the list right there.
We're right off the list.
She has, I think, over 60 IMDb credits. So now, but that's 2 down.
That's 2 down.
60 to go.
Yeah. But so I imagine that everything must have some sort of a piece that's edifying in some way. But they're all do they all feel different? Does every project feel different, or does it all feel like, oh, this is a familiar? It's this thing again, or is each one unique?
It depends on the caliber of the project and the work atmosphere and all of that. Like we've said, there's those moments where you get you do something because I've got to this I can make this work, and you're going to get a paycheck. Okay, I guess I have to do it. And from day one, you think, how the holy hell am I going to get through this? How am I going to make it? And you make calendars in every room to cross off the day, cross off the hours, then that crossing off. I have things where I literally cross off the minute. Okay, we haven't done another half hour is done. Where you just your life is you're dying here. There's those experiences, but the ones that are that I will always cherish, and certainly Doris being one of them. It's almost like it doesn't matter that there's a film after it. It's like, wait a minute, we get to have a movie too? It was like we had this little time together. We had this little voyage. We went on a voyage for 3 weeks and 3 days. And that was what I got. That was my time. And then you go, oh, there's a movie now. Wait a minute. Now we have to support this because maybe no one will see it, and then it will die, and maybe that experience will be criticized for being not a good experience. But you hold these, and I've been lucky enough to have several experiences of making a film, that was worth the experience of doing it, even whatever the film was.
And so that's ultimately how you decide. You just get that feeling when you read something, this is going to be worth my time. This is a human enough of a thing that is important to me.
Something clicks inside of me. Something. It's something.
Were you nervous the first day you guys worked together?
Yes. Very.
And as the director, you're supposed to know what the hell's going on.
Yeah. I mean, the first day is always weird anyway. Because
We're all nervous.
You're all nervous, and it's like that first time when you do that first take, you're like, wow, you're really free fall. Like, oh my God, we're making this movie now. It's happening. And we shot some difficult stuff on that first day. But I mean, add to how nervous you are just to be directing a movie at all, and then that the person that you're directing is her. Very nervous, but you get through it. And Sally was, we'd already kind of gotten to know each other a little bit, and so it was like we were already I kind of knew a little bit about how she worked and how this was going to go and everything. But yeah, I was nervous.
We were already linked. We were linked. But I was nervous too.
Yeah,
we talked about it. I was like,
Well, it was the first time you'd worn the clothes
costumes
on
would the character land.
Yeah, and it was the first time you'd really
rhythm and who she was.
been her.
Yeah.
Like I see, that's that thing, like it was the first time we'd actually seen the character. Like we'd kind of done it. We had done the little rehearsal-y kind of things and with the script and kind of a little bit of feeling it around. But this was like, this is the character now. And it's a pretty intense moment when you go, wow, there she is. There's Doris. She's over there sitting on the couch. And I can only imagine what that must have felt like for you. When I say I can only imagine, I mean I can't imagine. What I meant to say was I can't only imagine, or I can't imagine.
Is that a question?
Sure. Oh. Yeah.
I don't know. I just it's the intense concentration. That sort of self-hypnosis place you put yourself in as an actor to arrive someplace that isn't really you, and to also harness all of the things that are you and put them out of the way, physicality and things to try to have Doris's rhythm and Doris's personality. It's just, then you wake up at the end of the day, like slap yourself. Oh, hello, I'm back. It's just huge, that intense concentration.
Are you in that character the entire time? Like when you go home, or do you can you leave it at the door like a job?
No, you have to sort of hang on to it. You have to, and you kind of hang on to it all day, and however you are, just you try to hover there. And it was always hard for me because early in my life, it was new that actors would act like that, so I'd have to try to hide it because then they would think there was something wrong with me. I was mentally. And at one point, like on Sybil, when I was like that, I was on the streets of New York, and someone called the police that there was a crazy woman standing outside of their store, and we were like getting ready to shoot, and I was standing outside of the store, sort of going like that, sort of, bobbing back and forth, concentrating on the being the character, and the people in the store called the police.
Oh my God!
There's a very strange homeless person out here and going.
That was kind of your first award.
So it's like, hi. Yeah.
Oh no, we're doing.
Yeah.
You'll see.
No, I really and the AD had to go tell him to back off because I couldn't get out of my character enough to say to be anybody but Sybil at that moment.
So obviously, Sybil has a very strong hook. Doris has a hook. You know who she is. But when you get a role, it's like I always wonder, the Aunt May Parker characters of the world, where it's like, well, she's a sweet lady. Yeah. Well, what about her? Well, she's a sweet lady. Yeah. The characters without a real obvious hook. Do you like that challenge?
No. That was hard. I was really there. I loved Andrew just to pieces. Loved him. But I was really there because my first producing partner was Laura Ziskin. And I loved her. And we made Murphy's Romance together. It was her first film. And then she went on to do just gobs of stuff and be a very important woman in the industry. And we knew this was going to be her last film. She was dying of breast cancer, and she had fought a hell of a fight, and at the same time really raised she was a hero. She'd raised all of this money and brought these research doctors together, demanding that they talk to each other when the doctors were competitive with each other and wouldn't bring their research all together to try to, combat this horrible thing, which is breast cancer. And we knew that it had come back and that she was not going to win this time. And she called me and said, we're making Spider-Man again. And would you be Aunt May? And I was doing a television series at the time. I was doing Brothers and Sisters. And I said, yes, I'll be there. I didn't read the script. I didn't know what it was. I didn't care what it was. I needed to be there. And I was. So every day was fine.
Yeah.
And I got to work with Andrew.
Yeah.
So it was fine. Better than fine. I got paid.
You did.
Yeah.
But you also did that. You also did something for your friend, which was
And so I was super glad to be there.
So as we're sort of winding this down, first of all, everyone should know that My Name Is Doris opens 11th, but wide March 18th.
Yes.
If you're wider March 18th.
Yes.
Do you have any last nugget of wisdom that you can leave with people? Just something. I mean, as someone who has just hearing all the stories of you came up against this wall and you figured out how to get around it. You came up against this and you got angry and you yanked the pages out of the... what is it? What's the fire in your, I think my manager would call that the fire in the belly. What's your fire in the belly? How do you keep pushing through and pushing through and pushing through no matter what?
I think the real question is, how do you quit pushing through for me? I mean, how do I just say, okay, that's enough. That's fine. Thank you so much. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not really sure what's next, even though I kind of know what's next, but I'm not telling you what it is.
Please.
I know.
Okay, I thought that would work. No. I gave puppy dog eyes.
No.
It didn't. No.
But I don't know. I'll just keep going until the flame dwindles and I decide to, sit down. And or I just can't find a spot to put myself anymore. I mean,
it's clear that would only happen if you just didn't want to do stuff anymore.
Well,
if you were like, well, this just
very nice
isn't fulfilling anymore, or you didn't want to do it anymore, or whatever.
Well, that's very nice of you. I keep saying we ought to do Doris too. I'm saying she goes to Paris and goes to the catwalk.
I'm writing it we're writing it as we speak.
The designers find her. She's the
but then it goes to her head. She gets very successful.
Doris is such a great character. I think you should do a series of films that'll explore. Each sequel is a different genre. So there's like a horror. Then there's a sci-fi Doris. Then there's an action Doris.
Doris gets marooned on Mars, you mean?
Yes.
Well, I'd like to do with Doris what we did with Wet Hot, which is we get Sally and Tyne Daly and Caroline Ahrens, and we go to Netflix and we do a sequel on Netflix.
That would be fantastic. Is there a genre that you haven't? Is there a genre that you would like to do more of?
I've never really done any horror stuff. I don't really like. I won't know that I want to do, but I do really good horrors, beyond belief good.
Yeah.
I mean, please, Alien, all of that. I mean, that's horror. I mean, it couldn't. It's my favorite thing. I love, the Hitchcockian sort of. I would like to do gothic I've never done that kind of sort of stuff. I mean, period. But except for Mary Todd, she was pretty gothic. I don't know.
Mary Todd Lincoln was pretty gothic.
Wasn't she?
She was a dark character.
Yeah, she was.
It's a very dark character. But, you've both been amazing. And I'm very proud of you, Michael Showalter. And I hope that doesn't sound arrogant.
Thanks, Chris.
But it's one of my favorite things, and maybe you feel this way too, is when you start off with people and you notice, there's there's those people, I like them. And then you kind of see when you get to be in the business for a little while and you see you're doing great and it's kind of nice.
It is? That's unusual.
Really?
Because there's a lot of people that go, if he's achieving something, it means I must be losing something.
No, those people are horrible.
Well, I have a resentment.
People.
I have a resentment towards you because I've done At Midnight twice, and I go on knowing this is going to happen. And
you got eliminated
first both times.
I tried.
I'm that guy. I'm the guy that gets eliminated first on.
Can I tell you? There's the trick to At Midnight is
I've
the buzzer.
been told the trick.
It's the buzzer. The buzzer, the game show element of that show really works. If you lean on the buzzer and you get answers in faster, that's the trick.
The last time I did it, I really felt emotionally defeated.
Be
like,
reffed,
Yeah,
huh?
I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Well,
Like,
you can come back on.
and give it and can you rig it?
Yeah, I'll rig it.
Can you rig it so that I at least make it to the
Yes.
showdown round? Thank
Yes,
you.
I promise the
Thank
next
you.
time you come on that we will.
It'll be rigged.
We will
Isn't
do
that
that.
a
We will do that for you.
happy
No, it won't be rigged. It'll just work out well for you.
Okay, good.
All right, just say that. It's not rigged. It's just the universe is smiling on you. Sally Field, Michael Showalter, thank you for being here. Enjoy your burrito, everyone. And thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Now leaving Nerdist.com. Enjoy your burrito.
This episode of the Nerdist Podcast is brought to you by The Bronze. A film starring Melissa Rauch, Gary Cole, Thomas Middleditch, Sebastian Stan, Cecily Strong, and Haley Lou Richardson. The Bronze opens everywhere on March 18th, only in theaters. Go see it. The Bronze.